And we are live. And we are live. Let's go. Let's start off with our music. Straight from the chair, we ain't just talking about that. Feed your mind, enrich your soul, leaving noise behind, lay down below, and get straight from the chair. Hey, hold on one second. We got a little feedback. Let's get this all put together. And that was once again my theme music, my introduction music to Straight from the Chair, written and sung by my little sister. I'm gonna stop calling her little because she is about to be 30 in May. So Mira Gresham, I thank you so much once again for writing my song. It means so much to me. Right now, I want to take a moment of silence for the family of Sean White, the Frederick Douglass Astro family, friends for the passing. It was so unexpected. It has been heavy on everybody's heart. Like, that was a big blow. So, just a moment of silence for Sean White and his family. Amen. Lord have mercy. Like, life is really, really short. Life is really short, and how you live it is what you want to be able to leave. They say the dash on the tombstone is what's important, not the beginning, not the ending date, but the dash. And how you get and create that dash while you're here leaves a legacy for you. And what does that legacy look like? You have to really evaluate yourself and where you are in life and what you're doing and what are you leaving behind. What do people know about you? What does the dash say about you? Oh, that's my next quote. I'm gonna put that on a picture, and don't nobody write it before I do, because I'm gonna put it on a picture. I'm gonna have it next week as my quote. What does your dash say for you? So with that, I have the honor of having one of my closest friends here who talks about her dash from being a little girl all the way to now, and still has more to go, who really, really opens and becomes transparent about her dash. I want to introduce to you all, not to everybody, some people know who my sweet is, because we are known as Sweet and Tart. Her birthday is November the 1st. Mine is November 2nd. And we met 2016. Is that 2016? We both are professional hairstylists, master cosmetologists, and we met on a trip. And our journey as friends have grown and evolved into so much, to the point where my girl has written a book, not about our relationship, but about her life. But about her life and what she has gone to. So I introduce to y'all Danielle C. Giddins.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you for having me, Tart.
I'm so excited to have you here. Now you gotta call me Tart. Everybody not privy to.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Crystal, straight from the chair.
And then that sounds so fake. Go back to Tart. Go back to Tart.
I know.
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about you, Danielle.
Danielle Giddins. Well, Danielle Giddins was 8 years ago. Before I got married, was Danielle Rogers. I the dash mainly in that book is about Danielle Rogers. And so Danielle Rogers is a young girl, a young hood girl that grew up in the Keller Home Projects in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay,
I am
Baltimore.
Baltimore born and still here. And so I grew up in the projects. I am a twin. I came out first. So I have a twin brother. And so we grew up in the projects with my mom and all of our uncles and grandmother. Y'all know these houses back in the day where the whole family is like sardines. We in the house. And so that was my house. So I grew up in the projects of McCullough Homes. And so I always knew that I was like this fish out of water, after about middle school.
Okay.
And so Danielle Rogers is a young girl that has been journeying through life, trying to figure out who she was as a person. And the unfortunate thing is that she just figured that out within the last 10 years of her life. And through that she became parentless early. She became a teenage mother early of two girls. I have grandkids, and Danielle Rogers Giddins is also a follower of Christ, and that is a large portion of my belief and how I got to where I am as a person. So that sums up who Danielle Rogers is as it
So y'all
relates
did
to
y'all
person.
catch it? Y'all catched it. So I think Danielle, one of the things that I've learned through therapy is to really separate the people, the persons that you
Mhm.
have become in your life. Like I have a Christy, a Crystal, and a Demora. And people like, I used to think people was crazy when they say you got different personalities. You just go, oh, that's just different. But you really have to go back and live those people, those persons that you were, because they truly exist.
Yes.
Those, they really make a difference. So she was introducing to you all to Danielle Rogers. So Danielle Rogers is a part of most of this book. So let me introduce y'all to Danielle Giddins, who I met, who has written this book. It's called From Purpose. No, don't let me get it together. It's called From Poverty in Prison. Y'all see it? It's on Amazon. From Poverty in Prison to Purpose. The discovery journey to free, the journey to discovering
A
freedom.
journey to discovering freedom.
See, I'm gonna mess it all up. Don't let me say it. How
Okay,
about you just
good.
say the title of the book again? Just say it for me.
The title of the book is From Poverty in Prison to Purpose, a journey of discovering freedom.
Now put it over a little bit on Instagram so we can see it right in front of the camera. Go over your face. Yeah. Yes. So y'all make sure y'all log in Amazon, um, your website for the book too.
It's www.daniellecgiddins.com.
Yes. So reading this book now, let me say this. Danielle and I met, and okay, so I have to tell y'all this funny story of how Danielle and I met. So we met, Kia, who was over the color culture, if anybody know how we used to travel with doing color. So this is our first time going to an event, both of us, her and I, and I'm from Atlanta, she's from Baltimore. So Kia's like, oh, I got somebody for you to room with. So, when you, like, we were doing things, but you still wanted to save a little bit. So you really didn't want to get a whole room by yourself. But it was like Kia was making people double up so that they
Mhm.
could learn people. So we get in this room together. So the first night we go eat dinner, we having a good time. I thought y'all, let me tell y'all, I was a street like kid. So I go to sleep as soon as the lights go off. Like they'll be in deep conversation and I'll go to sleep. So Danielle is like up. She's a night owl. So I'm asleep. So the next morning, the next day, we go to class. We come back, and she was just like, "What did you say, Danielle? How do we get on?"
You mean, oh, so she went to bed early. Well,
Oh yeah,
I was talking and she was going to sleep. And so because I don't wear pajamas, I had on pajamas that night to respect the new girl in the room. And when she went to sleep, I took them pajamas off and slid in the bed naked because the pajamas didn't fit. That's how long I had.
you had more pajamas. So the crazy part is, y'all. I know this is tea of mine. Don't get excited, and no, I'm not expressing too much. And Crystal, you told too much. I
It's
don't like
easy.
sleeping with clothes on either. So we both were laughing the next night, like, Girl, I had to go find some pajamas because I don't own pajamas to come and sleep. So we was like, phew, now we finally got somebody that's good. Like I was in the military, so taking a shower with 60 different women at one time, it was never an issue for me. So whatever y'all want to call it, we were comfortable. So we actually call our relationship comfortable being naked. And it's not just on the literal, but it's like we were really just true and open and raw. But as my friend wrote this book, it was some things that I didn't know. And she was even negative. Like this was to the skeletons. So this wasn't even about being naked, honey. This was pulling out
Both
the
of my bones.
skeletons from the closet. So I'm reading this book, and me reading the book to somebody I talk to at least every other morning, and I'm reading the book like, she, what wait a minute. But it was a funny part when you were growing up in the hood. We call them the projects,
Mhm.
and you and your cousin, it was somebody that y'all were eating the sandwich. Y'all had fixed the last piece of bread,
Yeah.
and y'all had put this sandwich together, and y'all go to the backyard, and the police are all y'all go to the door, and the police have y'all like put your hands up, guns drawn and everything. And your cousin had never experienced, so he dropped the sandwich. And you said because you were so used to the policeman coming to your grandmother's house that you was mad that he had dropped the damn sandwich and not the fact that the police was at the house.
Yes, girl. I'm like, that's the last bread.
It's like 3 second to 5 second count. Pick it up, pick it up.
Yeah, hurry up, leave. They not here.
Yes, so I'm reading the book, and as I was reading the book, I'm coming across information that I just really did not realize about my friend, like the life that she had lived. You know, when you think about friends that you lived and lived in the projects, you never know what they really went through. So, as a child with your mother and father, how was that?
So my mother and father were together maybe like through us being kindergarten to first grade. The only memory that I have with my father being in our room is when he was fussing with my brother about his homework. And so that was the last time my dad was pretty much in and out of prison. So we
Mm,
ain't see much of him. We saw my family, my paternal family, a lot because we went there during the summer, but my dad was not around. And
wow.
so I have 5 experiences with my dad throughout my life. And so I talk about them in the book. It might be 5, it might be 4, I might be giving them a little bit too much. But
Give a little extra.
I thank him for my life and the family that I actually got a chance to spend time with during the summer.
Mhm.
But my mom was she was addicted to drugs very early in life. Those drugs, as those people that watch Snowfall, those drugs kind of escalate from the powder stuff to the crack. So when crack became a thing, that kind of took like most of my family, my uncles. I had like 5 uncles, and so that kind of took them in a spin of like really bad behavior,
Right,
so
right.
but what I will say about my mother, that even though my mother got high my entire life, my mother
Mhm.
made sure that we ate. She made sure that we came in the house before the lights went out. Like we had some discipline. She
Okay,
combed our hair. Now it was them two thick, fat two ponytails that I hated, but my hair got combed,
okay.
and we went to school every day. She had a lot of girlfriends. So I learned a lot from my mother, from, from her, just her enjoying life. She did enjoy life. It was laughs and, fun in our family. We got together on Christmases, holidays, Thanksgiving. It was dysfunctional, but we had places where we loved on one another. as dysfunctional as it was. So, I really honestly did not appreciate any of those things about my mother until she passed away.
Wow.
So it wasn't until I saw Antoine Fisher that I appreciated what my mother gave me. But I also found something, all of those years that I yearned and missed her, I
Mhm.
found something to appreciate throughout life. So she's been gone for 27 years. So throughout my 27 years, I've had a lot of time of growth and maturity within myself where I could say I learned that from my mother. So,
Wow.
she wasn't available to me emotionally. She couldn't direct me. I was literally, kind of figuring out life myself, but she kept a roof over our head. She kept food on our table, our hair clean, discipline, and I felt loved to some
Awesome.
degree. So
Awesome.
that was it.
So even I love hearing you say that because I think a lot of people harbor so much resentment when a family member or a parent
Yes,
or somebody who's been in that, it's I don't want to call it just the victim mentality, but
yes,
it's definitely the victim mentality, huh?
it is.
Goes into, oh, I'm this because of that, I'm this because of that. And you took the time to recognize that, yeah, I am this because of that, but I'm also this because of those great things that
Yes,
she did do. And
yes,
even through the addiction to drugs, you went and found some stuff. Like I know for a fact that you had to search yourself to be able to search what that good stuff was as you are healing.
yeah.
As
It
yeah,
was a part of my healing process.
right,
Because
right.
the thing is that, like you said, if you remain a victim, it's always going to be, somebody else's fault. Now my brother, on the other hand, that was his story. Like,
Yeah.
he would blame them. We don't have no parents. Like, what we supposed to do, and I would be like, live, nigga, live, because
Yeah.
I would have to talk to him
So
like that.
both your parents died early.
Yes, my father died when we were in middle school, and my
Okay.
mother died when before my 22nd birthday. So I
Okay.
was
Wow.
released from prison um, in March of 2000 and March of 1995, and my mother died in September of 1995.
Oh wow. Wow. So now that you threw it out there just a little bit, I don't, what I want people to do is to get a little bit of snippet from this because I really want y'all to go and get this book because it is absolutely amazing to hear this story when you look at this beautiful woman now. And it just shows you, to me, it just shows it doesn't matter what you've been through, it's how you
Exactly.
address it in
Yeah.
the now. And she just said that she didn't start really realizing who she was until the last 10 years. So baby, that's going to, what are you, 40? What are you, 40?
I'll be 49 this year.
Okay, she'll be 49. And so you talking about from 39
Mhm.
finally addressing it. So people always think, oh, it's too late to address it. No, it's good to look in the mirror and figure out, how do you want to heal? Do you want to heal, or do you want
Mhm.
to remain a victim?
Mhm.
I'm gonna back up a little bit before you went to prison, because one of the biggest things that shocked me, and I know, listen, she was transparent in the book. I'm talking about the book. This ain't no shot. This is the book. Abortions. You
Mhm.
didn't have one. You didn't have two. You didn't have three. You didn't have four. How many abortions did you have?
5.
She had five abortions. Five abortions. And God still saw fit for you to have two beautiful daughters.
Right.
At what point were you in your mindset where you said, okay, I'm going to keep this one?
Um, 4 of those abortions were before I was 15 years old.
Before you were 15?
Before I was 15 years old. The first time I had sex, I was pregnant.
Oh,
You
wow.
remember everybody always say, she fertile.
Murder, murder.
I was fertile and they know nothing about fertile. And
Oh
so
wow.
that's where, I that's one of the things that I wanted to drive home to parents, because the baby boomers and the boomers, they weren't talking to us about life. And
Right.
so I never had a talk about women's body. I never had the talk that your mother had with you about shaving. I never had the talk about, you're going to come on your cycle or sex. So I never had any of those talks. But, the first person that, started paying me some attention and started talking to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna roll with Rush, see what's going on
Right.
over here.
Right.
Not to mention, I had been molested as a little girl. So
Mm,
that was the introduction to lust in my life. So
gotcha.
when somebody wanted to touch me, or, it awoken these feelings that I had not had no control over, because it was something that was introduced to me at an early
Early
age.
age. Yeah.
And so, I had sex and I was pregnant, and then it was like I liked it. It was like, okay, I like this feeling. I feel loved,
Okay.
so I want to feel this feeling all the time. And it wasn't until, to be honest, I mean, I just looked at it like it was a form of abortion. I mean, it was a form of
Birth
contraception,
control.
because
Mm-hmm.
my mother would fuss at me and say, listen, you need to stop having sex. Like, you such and such a, but nobody ever gave me a solution. So I just
Right.
kept doing what I was doing. It was just like, I don't know, stop having sex. So I was having sex because I liked it. And that became my addiction. She
Gotcha.
was addicted to drugs. I was addicted to sex, because
Wow.
sex made me feel like I was being loved. But really, when I got older, I realized that it was lust. But
Mm.
at that moment, 5 abortions, it was, hey, I'm this sex thing is making me feel good. Let's get some more.
Somebody need to come up with something else, because what I am gonna do is not have that. I'm not having them until
Yeah, but
Tia
when I
came up.
had Tia, it was 1990 when I had Tia.
You
I
were how old?
decided to have Tia because another reason that I wanted to feel loved. It
Okay.
was this girl was searching for love. And so
Gotcha.
because she didn't feel it, it was like, if I have this baby, she gonna love me.
Hmm.
And so, horrible, horrible, horrible thing to put on a kid. But that's why Ted came into this life, because I wanted to find somebody to love me back. And
Wow.
so I had Tia. And the Takira came from my first long lasting relationship. I felt
Okay.
like, that was my friend. We was rolling. So I wound up keeping her because of him.
Gotcha.
But one of those abortions was later on in life. And
Okay.
I think that was the last time, but it was the time that I grieved and I kept praying and asking God to forgive me. So
Oh,
at that point, it was when I was mature enough to know this not right.
gotcha.
And I was working in the beauty industry. So it took me to mature enough to realize the significance of what I was doing, as it relates to those abortions.
Wow. Now that is like the best story to like go into the young adults, the young girls, and really talk about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, because some people just don't realize that sex is an addiction for women.
Yeah, it is.
Like everybody think it's
Fatherless girls.
fatherless girls. Wow.
Because we
That
looking
is
for it's that abandonment issue inside of you, that you're looking for love because this person you weren't good enough. Like, you feel like I wasn't good enough for my father to stay, or my father to love me, or my father to teach me. So then that's where you go looking for, this man to teach you these things, this man to love on you. And really, it's like every relationship you in, or every man, or person you come in contact with, you looking for that feeling that your father never gave you.
Yes, yes. I mean, I like you like touched on the point. I got a little speechless. Like, yes, because you do look for the love that you don't. Fathers are very, very important. And I
Yeah.
remember growing up, my mom used to instill in my head, like, when you have that baby, it is yours. It is yours. And you never get y'all are having a baby or two people are having a baby and it should be great. It's That's your baby, you better take care of it, and this is where you gonna find love. So fathers not being an intricate part in women's and young girls lives really affect their afterlife and the
It
decisions,
affects
yeah,
it.
and the decisions that they make in life really affect them. Like, I'm not gonna get into my story, but the decisions my dad made really affect how I dated.
Yeah,
And
I
they,
mean, because even still, that also goes with you actually feeling like people that lived in a household with parents also feel that same way.
yeah,
So it could be
yeah,
a
just
person could
because,
feel.
yeah, just because the person is available inside the house doesn't mean that they're emotionally available or mentally available. I've seen that a lot. Like, just because the two parents in the house, well, I'm staying for the kid. Well, if you're not showing love within the house while you both of y'all in there, y'all don't even sleep in the same room. Y'all don't wake up and hug and kiss, or y'all don't say goodbye. Y'all arguing. So what are you teaching this
You
your
teaching
daughter?
them that's what love look like. Dysfunctional.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly. That
crazy.
is love, is a huge dysfunction. So,
Yeah,
like, you really got to be mindful, fathers now who have daughters. Like, you got to realize, what are you teaching your daughters? Like, oh, I'm just gonna stay for the kids, or I'm going to we just gonna get this thing out the way. Man, it makes a difference how you react to that woman inside that household, for that
yeah,
young lady to say, that's how I want my man to teach me.
yeah,
That's what a man should be like to me, how my dad is to my mother.
yes, yes.
And when you disrespect that female's mother, that young girl's mother,
She thinks that disrespect is what she should get and accept from a man
exactly.
because you did it.
Yes,
Like I think that we don't realize, even with me, like you don't realize the stuff that your child saw you do, and that thing where it's not don't do as I say. I mean, don't do as I do,
as
do
I
as I
do,
say.
do as I say. Yeah,
Yeah. And so, you like, don't do that, and you doing the complete opposite. But you think your child is gonna grow up listening to what you said. But no,
hmm,
they gonna look at the repetitive of what they saw you do.
yeah.
So that's what they gonna pick up,
Yeah, and
and
it goes for men too. Like, this is not a
yes,
one way street for just women. How a man acts towards their wife or anybody in the household, that dynamic of the mother and father, the kids see that.
they
So, like
do.
you said, as much as you want them to do as I say and not as I do, no, they watching you. They
Yeah.
watch everything. So when there's a disrespect to the mom, that 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 little boy gonna be like, well, I can slap my girl, I can slap my wife, or I can be abusive, and she's still gonna love me. She's still gonna say,
Mhm.
she's still gonna stay. She's not going anywhere because my dad did this for 20 some years to my mom. He disrespected
Exactly.
her, and this is what I do. The same with the young lady. Well, my dad, this is how love looked. My mom
Yeah.
still sat there and fixed them dinner and did this because this is what they taught was love. But
Exactly.
what is really love? How is love really, really being taught?
Yes.
Yeah. So at what moment? Okay, so let's go to, you went to prison. I'm not giving the book away. If y'all want to know why she went to prison, you got to read the book, because we're not going to talk about why you went to prison. So you go to prison, and tell me, what was that aha moment in prison? What about prison made you want to do something different? I mean, besides being locked up. Right.
You know what the funny thing is that you already know I crack jokes all day long.
Yes.
So I was the class clown in school, right? And
Uh-huh.
so I used to always crack this joke like, if I ever go to prison, I'm gonna be biting on the balls like so people wouldn't bother me. Girl, totally opposite. I'm like, oh, I'm really here. What was I thinking? So prison was I think for me it was the first 2 weeks because I also had to face other charges because at that point, because I got locked up, I also had another charge that I had to face that had gone on stat, but because it went on a stat, and I got locked up, now I gotta go face those charges because those charges came back up. So they put me in a facility where it was a medium security pretty much until I answered to those other charges. And so for me, this little quiet little girl that everybody think is so sweet and nice, you know, ends up in prison, and I'm the girl, sweet green quiet girl, is looking outside like, oh my gosh. Like after I finished crying for like 3 days, I was like, girl, get yourself together. Cause this ain't going, you gonna have to get it together. Like
They gonna get
you
you.
gonna have to pick up some hood and get yourself together.
Right.
So I look outside and I'm like, oh, they got men working here. It was the women. It was the women. So that's how green I was. Like I literally thought like some of the dorms that was basically working on the grounds that was locked up. I was like, oh, they got men working here. Girl, crazy. So the little green girl had to grow up real fast. And
Okay.
I just kind of, I don't know what I did. I guess I was praying and they didn't even know I was praying. But I kind of, found my footing. And once they kind of like shifted me into, a place where I felt comfortable, like it was a wing where all of the lifers was at. And I
Hmm.
was nervous. But the person that I was in the room with was a DC girl. She just listened to go all the time. She could go off a little, sometimes, but it was kind of, it became a safe place for me.
Hmm.
And so I was good there until I started working. When I started working in the kitchen, then it was like my personality came out. And
Okay.
so early on, I knew that I didn't want, I, I knew, well, some stuff started coming to me while I was in prison about my relationship, because
Okay.
that's what happened when you're in prison. And then my daughters came to see me one time. That was the first and last time I ever wanted to see my daughters. They were at
Wow.
that time 1 and 3
Okay.
because it hurt too much for me to be able to see them. It was like they were looking at me like, where you at? And I'm like, I'm in school, college. That's the security guard for the college. I did tell them that.
Of
And
course.
so, it was kind of like I had to, start this lie. And they couldn't love me. I felt they just was foreign to it. I was foreign to them. And it was like, this the last time I'm doing this. And then once Takira's dad came to see me one time, and it was like, I can't do this. So I didn't want to see anybody after that point. So it was
Right.
just like, I need to cut myself off and do this by myself. If I call home, I call home. If I don't, I don't. Because basically I had to focus on life in prison and, just what that looked like. But one time they switched me to another, once I went and answer those charges, they switched me to another roommate. She was an older woman. She gave me a Bible to read. It was like God just knew, okay, I'm gonna put you here. And so
Mm.
she actually gave me the Bible. I started reading the Bible, and she was like a safe haven. She was like another mother to me because
Okay.
at the point my mother was dying of AIDS. My uncle had died while I was in prison. And then I went to jail on my 21st birthday. So it was
Wow.
just kind of like, and then I had never been away from my daughters. So that was very impactful to me because I didn't know if, since my uncle died in January, I didn't know if I was going to get out to see my mother.
Mm.
So it was just a lot to have to think, but I made it through there by the grace of God. And even though it was 7 months, it was 7 long months away from my daughters. And yeah, you couldn't get me to do nothing bad after that.
Nothing. Like your
Not a
daughters
one.
that your daughters became your purpose. This is when the life switch. This is when your dash takes a turn
Yes.
and flips,
Yes.
and you become more into the church, and getting more into the Bible and learning who Danielle the Christian is, right?
Yes, because I knew that I did have enough sense that I devised this plan. Like when I leave, because I went to school to for cosmetology, but because cosmetology was full, I went into business classes. Then I was
Hmm.
hanging out with guys all the time, and when cosmetology came available in the 10th grade, they were like, "You want to go over here?" And I was like, "I don't want to hang out with them girls." So just my immaturity and ignorance
Right,
made me
right.
have to pay for something that I could have got for free. So I
Right.
knew that when I left jail that I was going to go find a job and that my next move was going to be going to cosmetology school. So
Because it
I
was in
did
you.
leave there saying that I wanted to create a different life for my daughters because at that point I had become no better than the family that I grew up in 501 Huffman Street with.
Wow. Wow. So it was like, this is my time to change.
Yeah.
It ain't no going back, because I have noticed, and that was going into my next question, like when was that point, that moment that you realized that can't be right. That lifestyle, that can't be right. It's gotta be something different and better than to live this. So let me put my daughters as my purpose so that I could my focus so that I can live out my purpose. And you became a master hairstylist.
Yeah, I did. My mother dying was like
Mm,
the catapult to push it because
okay.
even though I left there saying that I was going to get a job, the hair school part didn't come along until my mother died, and I knew my mother wasn't going to let nobody do her hair. She did her hair herself. She taught me how to do hair. She did our friends' hair, but wasn't nobody going to be able to do her hair, so I did my mother's hair. And
Oh
when I did
wow.
my mother's hair, the funeral director came back and said, "You did your mother's hair?" Because originally, when I said I'm going to do her hair, he was like, "Are you sure? Have you ever done that?" I was like, "No." But my mother is not going to let anybody else to do her hair.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of her hair was gone. This was like my first experience. All of her hair gone. And I'm looking like, oh, I gotta glue some tracks to her hair. Like that was crazy because it's cold. You do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
trying to get heat to stick to some
To
cold,
that
some
cold, that
cold
ice
surface.
cold. Yeah,
It's not working.
yes. Yeah, we're
So
talking about doing hair on the deceased,
yeah,
and the body
yeah,
temperature is not the same when you're alive. So trying to glue some tracks onto that cold body is like you got to
what
blow
you
dry.
do?
Like, ooh, I hope
Right.
she warm up at some point.
You
Yeah, I
like I
get
ain't
it.
trying to melt the skin, but come on now.
Right.
So that was funny. And then the
Yeah.
funeral director, he offered me a job. He was like,
Mm.
he was like, "You do hair?" And I said, "No." He was like, "You did an amazing job." He was like, if this what you want to do, you go to school. I got a job for you." So honestly, that was the first time somebody really ever told me that I could do something. It was like nobody through life
Wow.
ever said, "Go do this. You're great at it." You never, how we enforce our kids and, reiterate and inspire them. Like I
Hmm.
didn't have that. So this man just said that I can do something. And so that's what enforced me to go do it. So I went to school for hair to do the hair for the dead, but I ultimately say I'm doing hair. I wind up doing hair for the living. So
Mm.
that's where it was. It's like I'm this stylist, growing through life. I ended up in a salon. And to be honest, that my first salon that I was in, she was a great mentor. I honestly, mostly every woman that I got attached to, I looked at as a mother figure
Okay.
because I didn't have a mother. So
Mhm.
if they gave me something that I had never, if I learned something that I had never learned before, and they cared for me in a way that I had never felt before, I actually look at them as a mother figure. So I held
Okay.
them in a high regard and I attached myself to them almost to the death of myself.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was like, I was still growing and learning and trying to create a better life for myself. But I was also learning so much about life and people and relationships and, you know, um, I became a people pleaser because it was just like
People
I
pleaser.
just didn't want nobody to, be mad at me. I just wanted people to like me and love me. So I just became a people pleaser throughout life. And
Gotcha.
it was at one point in life where I switched gears
Mhm.
and became a virtuous touch. So I left that salon after 17 years and became a virtuous touch and started my own salon. That's when I was able to say, it's okay if I don't want this anymore. It's okay if two people aren't on the same page anymore. It's okay if people have a business divorce because divorce is divorce. It's a severance. It hurts. It's painful, but you gotta
Mhm.
get on the other side. And
Gotcha.
so, you guys, I met you guys coming out of that divorce.
Yeah,
So,
I remember that.
that's why I gravitated to y'all so much because
Mhm.
it's like you come out of something and you looking for something to grab onto because you like, I don't want to
And she's
fall.
talking about a business partner divorce, y'all, not a
Yes, a
real a
business
marriage
partner.
divorce, a
This is a
business
business
partner
divorce.
divorce, and that's what she's saying. It's okay that you can divorce your business partners, like, and some go good and smooth, just like marriages, and some
Don't go too
some
good.
don't go as smooth. So that particular one wasn't as smooth. That's why the gravitation to our relationship became so close. But the key word, y'all, we didn't know that it was that. She doesn't
Right.
walk around and say, I'm gonna gravitate. Like, she has this spirit of service,
Yes.
serving, and she has this genuine spirit. And we clicked right away.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's crazy because two strong head Scorpios
Hmm.
like really, really did click on so many different levels. And at that time, we didn't even know our past experiences. We was
Hmm.
just a bunch of salon owners trying to make it and see how we can make more money in the salon and how can we become better at learning this. And when we got to color, we was like, oh shit, we really didn't even know color like we thought we knew color. So now we
Right.
finna really
Right. Right.
so now we traveling and now we know our stuff. So our bond became with a business. That's
Hmm.
where it was able to take that place of your other business. So it
Yes.
almost kept you unhealed because it was like
A
going into a
band-aid.
marriage, getting a divorce, having somebody to fall right back on.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's kind of like a band-aid. It's like you bleeding, but it's like, you put some neosporin on it and cover it up. When it's good, it's good. You can move about until you hit it again,
Right,
until that same situation or that same feeling, comes up again in your new relationships
right,
and, you hit it. And so, that just became the thing that kept on happening. And I kept on trying to figure out how do I fix this,
right.
but to be honest, the only answer was for me to find true healing.
Hmm.
And the only way for me to find true healing was for me to write this book. And the
And to
only
get it out.
reason why I chose to write this book, because at that point in my maturity, I didn't want my daughters to not know. I had all of these journals that I was going to give to them, 26 journals to be exact. And
Wow.
when I opened them up and started reading and putting up some books, I realized that, oh, this girl sounds dumb as hell.
You're like, I ain't gonna
You
let them
sound,
read this.
it's like how we look at the millennials and we be like, what she talk about? The ones that don't really know. It was like I had matured enough to not understand the language of the little girl that wrote in that journal. And I was like, oh, I ain't giving them these journals. And I threw them away because it
Mm.
disturbed me. It disturbed me because my oldest daughter was living the same life I was reading about. She had
Wow.
become me. So it was that she did what she saw. And
Wow.
so that's when I got, nervous and was like, oh no, this gonna stop right here. I'm
Mm.
gonna give her and my daughter and all of these other young girls, daughters, some tools to not, to journey through all of the stuff that I had to journey through alone and how I had to process it. And I did it from the perspective of a redeemed woman in Christ
Wow.
because worship has always, it was in our family. My grandmother on my father's side took me to church. My
Mm.
family on my maternal side, they praised the Lord and prayed, but we ain't really go to church over there. But I went to church from the community. And so that was my way of escape. Worship was a way that released a lot of those burdens that I was carrying, and it made me light, and it made me feel like, all right, I can do this. No matter what came about in my life, it was like no matter how much I got knocked down, no matter how much pain I was dealing with, it was like if I worship God, it's gonna get better. Like I never threw away this hope that it could be
Wow.
better.
Right.
And
Right.
so me writing that book was I'm gonna create the just I'm gonna tell them so that they understand y'all's not doing anything that we have not done.
Right. Right.
And the thing is, we were a little bit more strategic in doing it, but y'all just do it and don't have no rhyme or reason. And
No.
so that
Yeah.
was the connection with them, but then also to give them tools to kind of navigate through how you get through and, kind of look at yourself. It's not really about the other person. It's really
Right.
about forgiving a person and moving forward. And I had to learn how to forgive people fast because early on I harbored Scorpio. Cut you off
Woo,
in a
woo.
minute, harbor the bad feelings in a minute, and I don't have nothing to do with you. But I
Baby.
call myself a redeemed Scorpio.
Baby, let me tell you, that vengeance spirit that we have, because when we
Yeah,
hover in it, we thinking about how we gonna sting the mess out of you if we
yeah,
get a chance.
yes, yes,
Like I don't even want to go down that lane
yeah,
because like now, like you said, I call myself the matured Scorpio.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
because it takes some work to
Mm-hmm.
not harbor stuff that people have done to you
Yes.
or done or said about you, or even you, they might even done it, you
Mm-hmm.
think it, so you harbor that, and then there's this whole disconnect, and the person is looking like, look, I didn't even know you. We were even at that point, like,
Like,
and
what's wrong
you
with
looking
you?
like, girl, I've been ready to boom boom. So
Right.
yes, definitely that mature Scorpio, or growing as a mature person. I don't try to stick on signs, but we all love our sign, and we
Yeah.
damn, we get about it. But just maturing as a woman, as a human being, to take
Mm-hmm.
a look into your life,
Mm-hmm.
to say, I need to fix me.
Yes.
And you saying you had all these journals that you had and you
Mhm.
threw them away. So then you decided to write this book in what year?
I started 3 years ago. So I think
19?
that it was 18.
18. So in 2018, because you didn't have all those old journals, you literally had to relive and go
Yeah.
through all of that, what you had gone through, because all of this is in your book. So now, like listening to you, I knew you would be journaling. You know how we would talk. You like, I'm on this book, I'm on this book. And I'm like, okay, get it, get it, get it. And just to know that you had to go back and relive this, I could imagine sometimes that it would just hit you. And I remember you saying you went back and you took pictures of the place where you lived and grew up. And I can imagine all of the emotional feelings it took to go back deep into Danielle Rogers and come to full fruition to Danielle Giddins and the purpose that you are now for your girls. Like, I just want to applaud you for even going through it all over again, for having to relive it. Like,
Well, and some of the stuff I had my mind had actually written it for the first time.
mm,
Like like some things like my molestation, I knew it happened, but the details of it was
mm,
on a lock and key back in the back of my memory. I never walked through the details of it until I wrote the book.
wow.
So there were portions of times where I might have wrote if I like when I wrote about those abortions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I went back to that book to write anything for like 4 months. It was like 3 or 4 months
Mm,
because I had to heal from my
from them.
perspective what I had done, but it wasn't really about what I had done. When I wrote all of that stuff down, I realized I couldn't imagine my daughters going through half of what I went through at from 15 on younger, up until 15. I couldn't imagine them going through that.
Right.
So that like was heavy on my heart because I'm like, damn, you went through that. Like it's kind of like I really honestly didn't know because I guess my whole life has just been about being better and being different. When I lived in a house with everybody in the house got high, including my twin brother, except me and my grandmother.
Mm,
I knew that I didn't want to do that. I knew that I never wanted to get high. I knew that I never wanted to, touch a drug. Not saying I ain't smoked weed before when I was younger, but it was just that I knew that I never wanted to be like that.
mm-hmm.
And so to leave just knowing like don't ever touch a drug and you wind up touching a drug in a different way.
In a different way, sex.
Yo, but you gotta get the book.
You got
But
to get the book.
to be able to touch a drug in a different way and just I just wanted it to be totally different and I wanted them to experience life away from poverty.
Right.
And
Right.
so I felt like God chose me as the person in my family to break those curses that we lived under.
This, I mean, when I tell you, I smile every time I think about the book and, you know, being your friend as you were writing it and watching things unveil. And even when I didn't see what was truly happening, because sometimes we have to go into our own self and sit by ourselves, and everybody, I don't care, not even your closest people can know what you're going through because God will make you sit in that thing. I
Yeah,
just still
alone.
smile. Yeah, I smile when I see Tia and Harley, which is Tia is her oldest daughter and Harley is Tia's daughter, and then Takira and Kylan. Takira is her second daughter and her son is Kylan. And just to watch them now, even knowing them personally, but watching them on social media and the growth and the intentional
Mhm.
curse breaking,
Mhm.
the intentional curse breaking.
Mhm.
I just want to applaud you as a woman that you made the decision to make a difference in your family. So I want to give you your flowers. I don't even have nothing to give, but I'm literally giving you. We always got to be silly.
Thank you, honey.
Yes, I am giving you your flowers because you are an amazing woman, and I am proud to be your friend. And I'm proud that you were able to come on here on Straight from the Chair and tell people about this wonderful book you have written that you became transparent to help save other people in their relationships. So I'm gonna give you the last couple of minutes to. Oh, see, they gave you
Oh,
your
thank you
flowers.
for the
Somebody gave you.
flowers.
See, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Somebody's
Thank
listening.
you. Somebody gave me for Nelly
Yes,
gave
they
me
gave you
flowers.
flowers. So I want you to go ahead for these last couple of minutes and tell them where you are today, about your book and how they can get it, and just whatever you want to talk about, Danielle Giddins.
So Danielle Giddins, it's funny because when I wrote about Danielle Giddins, I wrote all this stuff in the book. And then I was like, I'm married, I'm this, I'm that at the end. And so when I sent the book to the lady to do all of the editing, she was like, how come you're married? You never mention it. You never mention when you got married. You never mention anything about it. Like, we need to know that story. And in my mind, I,
Mm,
I was separating the good part of my life from the past. And
wow.
so I knew at that moment I had separated and healed myself from what happened yesterday. So that's how come I could be transparent and talk about it. That's how come I really, because my husband was like, are you gonna be okay? Because people are gonna judge you. I don't want to have to defend you. But if you okay, I'm okay. I was like, I'm
Hmm.
okay. God gave me the okay. So if God gave
Hey,
me the
say it
okay,
again.
my joy is gonna help other people, then I'm not worried about who don't. People ain't they ain't we ain't like Jesus. They ain't like Jesus. Some people don't like Jesus now. So hey, what do I
Hey,
do? I used to be a people pleaser, but I'm not one now. And so,
awesome.
that's when I realized I had to go back and write about the good parts of my life and how,
Okay.
I was able to learn to love me. I'm still learning to love me. Learning to love yourself is a lifetime thing. I
Hmm.
think that we'll be learning stuff about ourselves until we close our eyes and take our last breath. So that's the one thing about me is that I always go back to God and be like, okay, was I wrong? Like, what should I do? Did I do that? And I'm always talking to my husband because it's like I just don't want to be in a place where I'm taking anything with me or I'm harboring feelings against somebody, and that is the one thing that's going to hold me from where God want me to go. So
Yes.
I have learned over and over again to release and
Mm,
forgive because I don't want nobody to stop me. If I couldn't stop myself, if all of those issues that I wrote about in this book couldn't stop me, no one person on this earth is going to stop me from getting why God created me. And
wow.
so that is how I think as a person now, as Danielle Giddins. I just try to live life to the fullest. I'm not without fault. I am not a perfect person by far. I make
Hmm.
mistakes every day. But the
We all
difference
do.
is that I repent and I have a relationship with God. And my relationship with God keeps me from going overboard when Danielle Rogers want to show up. It keeps me from, going back and pulling out those things, those
Hmm.
habits that make me comfortable with, like when I want to boss up when I feel like somebody needs some hands laid on.
Yeah.
All of that stuff helps me. Like my relationship with God helps me to continue to be the virtuous woman that God has confirmed that I am.
I
And I
love
do
it.
mean confirmed because one day a prophet told me in church that I just want you to know that God said that you are a virtuous woman. And the one thing that I remember is that during 9/11, I was reading Esther. I was at a church in California, and the guy said, "You were like Esther." And I didn't know who Esther was. And so on our journey home, I read the book of Esther. But I also read Proverbs. And from that point, in life, I was like, I want to be virtuous. Like I want to
Mm.
be this person. And so I changed my name. My name, I was Chocolate Rogers. My email was Chocolate
Chocolate
Rogers.
Rogers, your email address.
Want to be the dancer no more. I want to be virtuous Rogers.
Okay.
And so that has always been the thing for me. I just want to be a virtuous woman that God can be pleased with who I have become. And so last year, 2 years ago, when that man confirmed that to me, I cried like a baby because it was like I had gotten to a place where I earned the right for God to solidify me. And that was the ultimate love that nobody could ever have given me. That God gave me it. So this young girl that was searching for love all her life ain't get validated by my husband. I didn't get validated by a friend. I didn't get validated by parents, grandparents, family members. God validated my
Mm,
love.
mm,
And
mm.
so I just say, if anything, I leave you with your relationship with God is you can't find purpose without God. You can't heal your past without facing your past. So you have to face your past in order for you to heal it. And that might mean you go get a therapist. That might mean you journal in a book. I don't know what it is, but you got to talk about it and let that person go that you're holding hostage to what they did to you, because you will never be able to move forward without forgiving that person. And then the other thing would be my purpose. Prison is not just, a place. Prison is a mental state. We can be in poverty, we can be imprisoned in our minds, in our spaces. And so I just say to you, free yourself, mind, body, and spirit. That's the ultimate gift that you can give yourself, as learning to love yourself and learning to love God in this lifetime.
Oh my God. That's just like that's like they like you want to say the end. Look, turn it off. The end. Click. Period. Mic drop. Because that's it. Like that's it. I had a discussion today. It's your mindset.
Mhm.
Your mindset. If you focus on negative all the time, if you
Mhm.
focus on what happened to you, if you focus on what they not doing and
Yeah.
what shouldn't be done, you focusing on so much with other people that you are
Yes.
deflecting that mirror that
Yeah.
you don't want to look in.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
it's hard to accept that mirror, that man in the mirror.
The man in the mirror.
But when you finally accept that man in the mirror and you address what is broken,
Yes.
he will see fit to help you fix it. But you got to admit that it's broken.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
can't
you
fix
gotta tell
you can't
yourself
fix
some truths.
you can't fix nothing that ain't broken. So you don't never
No.
admit it.
Yeah.
But when you walk there and you get to a level where people really think, "Oh, she thinks she's this or she thinks she's that." Nah, he think I'm that. And whether you
Mhm.
believe in God, whatever it is you believe, I tell people, whatever your higher power, your higher being is, it should
Mhm.
shine. You should shine from that. And if
Yeah.
you're not shining, it ain't working.
Mm-mm. No.
Try
Mm-mm.
something else. It
No.
ain't working.
And even in that, it's like it also becomes something, you exude, because you can't have a higher power and shine in a higher power and then you don't know how to handle his people. Because that's the one thing out here, like people, we be all religious and we do this and we do that, but we mishandle people. And so
Mishandle
that's
people.
another thing, you just can't mishandle people.
That's
You got to
that's
take responsibility for that.
that is deep, Dan. Like that's a whole nother podcast of how people really mishandle people because you're
Yeah.
so focused on other people. I was giving you that last little moment because usually Instagram cut us off so we can,
Yeah, and the
we
elbow.
still going until they give me the countdown. But I don't think people realize how much resentment to
Mhm.
other people for whatever reason will hold you back.
Yeah.
Like you cannot be freed if you constantly resenting your the person who molested you.
Right.
You cannot be freed and become better for that person who left you in a bad marriage.
Mm-mm.
You can't be free. Like, and you always want people want this whole, well, I need an apology from them. But you, first of all, let's
You
just
may
say this.
never get the apology, so you gonna stay there because you
First of
waiting
all,
for an apology.
they not even thinking about you.
No.
and they don't even remember what they did to you,
No, no, they don't.
and they didn't even realize it was wrong. So you
Exactly.
over here harboring something that somebody don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the defense is in you. The offense is in you. You have to focus on you
And sometimes it's just perspective.
all the time.
It's just perspective because like, I could think somebody did something to me if I'm still not grown or not learned some things within myself. But then I move over here and I look at it differently, be like, well, I mean, it wasn't even that serious, because now you got a different perspective of it,
Right.
which is a mature perspective, and you like, well, hey, you got this out of it. It wasn't even that serious.
Right.
So sometimes it's just not even, it's just perspective.
Yeah.
It's where you are in life and how you perceive things.
Yeah. And
And
I think your biggest perspective was coming from your book where you took the time to, you could have had a negative perspective of your mom and just
yeah,
stuck with that for the rest of your life and
that's
just,
my
oh
life.
my God, she was addicted to this and did this and wasn't there for this and had men around me. Like you could have stuck with that, but you decided, you made a choice, you made a decision to say, let me find something. Let me really reevaluate what she did. Oh, I know I used to have to come in before the street lights was on.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I know I ain't never went hungry. I wasn't eating by the candlelight. Like you have to really say
that's it.
what
Yes,
are those things, but you have to make an intentional decision and choice to want to see the good in people.
yeah, because people can only give you what they have,
That's
and that's
ooh,
all she had. She
say
couldn't give me
that
no
one more
more
time.
and no less. People can only give you what they have. It might not be what you want. It might not be what you think you deserve. And if so, you have a choice to not partake in it.
Yeah,
But they
yeah,
only can give you what they had. And I,
yeah.
to that point, this is my last thing that I'm going to say.
Okay.
I had to ask my mother because I was angry at my mother. I
Hmm.
had to ask my mother for forgiveness, and I was angry with her at a gravesite. I went to her gravesite yesterday for the first time. I actually stopped going there because it was a dead place to me. I felt like it was a dead place, and there wasn't no need for me to keep going back there. But now looking back, when I went back yesterday, I realized I went back as a free woman. Whereas though I was still trying to heal through a lot of things when I was going back, and I was like, this ain't no good place for me. So
Hmm.
now being there yesterday on her birthday as a free woman, be me being healed, I had a totally different perspective. But I remember the day I went to her grave and I was angry and I was just like, I just don't understand why you kept, going back to drugs after being in this treatment and that treatment, that blah, blah, blah. And it was like at that point, God showed me that, well, you ain't do not, you did the same thing she did. Her addiction was drugs, yours was men. So you neglected your daughters when it came to men in some instance where she neglected me from her addiction. So
Right.
we became one and the same. We just had a different vice. Her vice was drugs, mine was sex. And so what that did for me was, hey, the person that's pointing the finger, now you in a mirror pointing the finger and you pointing it back at yourself because you done learned to do the same thing that she did to you. Now what you gonna do about it?
Wow.
And
Wow.
so it's like the very thing, the very person that you pointing fingers at, if you look in your life, it's that scripture that say the plank in your eye is a splendor in your eye. Look, I ain't, y'all know which scripture I'm
You know what we're talking about. Don't be trying to throw rocks from a
yeah,
glass
yeah.
building, a glass house.
The splendor in my eyes, a plank in yours.
Right.
It's the same. So
Right.
that's where I realized I needed to heal. And
Wow.
so, if I don't leave y'all with nothing else, forgive people. Forgive easy. Learn to forgive easy so that you can be
Woo.
free and move forward.
Boy, now that's a word. Forgive easy. Forgive easy. Because it's one of the toughest things to do. But when I tell you, baby, you people are like, how you forgive her, baby? I forgave you when you turned around. The
Yeah.
minute you turned around and did what you thought you did to me, I forgave you.
Mhm.
Now, what I did do was set boundaries.
I ain't forget. I ain't forget though.
I didn't say
I ain't forget
I
because
didn't forget. I learned how to set boundaries within
exactly
you. You don't get to, hey,
you won't
but
be that
you
close
meant to
where
give
the next time I'll be like,
it to yourself.
don't let that
That's
over
it.
there.
That's
You know who
it.
that
That's
person
it.
is. And I think that's the thing. You just learn you accept who people are. And when you
Mhm.
accept who they are, you love them for who they are and you
Yeah.
create boundaries. You
Yeah.
don't go over there expecting something that you know you're not going to get from them.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, my
you
saying now is if you a gallon and all they are a liter, you can't expect nothing but a liter.
can't pour nothing into you.
I don't care how many times you pour that liter in there. And 1 liter
Spill
and
over.
1 gallon is never gonna spill over. But when you pour that gallon into that liter, you feel like you just giving and giving and giving because you just constantly doing it. But you give into something that can never replenish you.
Absolutely. They can never replenish you.
That can never replenish you.
You'll be thirsting for a long time,
Forever.
forever.
Forever expecting. I'm gonna get off this line with
I
you.
know. I'm going to say we gonna be on here all night.
I know we think we on the phone.
I, absolutely.
Baby, y'all, because let me tell y'all how she talks. This is how real we get with each other. This is our true friendship. I knew this was gonna be like we were trying to keep this like real professional. It's like, hey, you go
Uh-huh.
here, we're gonna go here. Well, did you get the questions? Yes. So we were trying to do it all professional. But y'all, let me tell you, when you're talking to your girl and you get excited about her journey, you know, you in this book took me to another level with you
I know.
because it's another respect level. So I want y'all to go and look. Hold your book up. Hold your book up, girl. Hold it up. Right. Yep. Yep. Purpose. I know from poverty and prison to say it, Danielle, because
From
I mess it up
poverty
every
and
time.
prison, from poverty and prison to purpose, a journey of discovering freedom. If you get this book, I'm telling you, it's a quick read, and you
It
will
is.
go on a journey with me of how I discovered to free myself from everything that you could think life could stop you. And I'm just free. I'm
I
free.
love it.
I'm living in my purpose. I'm in business with my daughter. I have grandkids. Am happily married, and I continue to do all that God has created me to do because I am free. Free to be me,
Look at that.
unapologetically and authentically.
I love. Y'all give it up for Danielle C. Giddins. And y'all, we have come to the end of the show, and I want to thank y'all so much. And I want y'all to support Danielle in purchasing her book tonight. I also want you all to support me on YouTube. Oh, Danielle has a podcast that she does also. T.
It's called Late Night Tea. It's Friday nights. Y'all can follow me on Danielle C. Giddins, and
Mhm.
all of my handles are on there to purchase the book on my website, or you can go to Amazon. And the book is called From Poverty and Prison to Purpose, and it will come up. But yeah, you can follow me on Danielle C. Giddins on IG and Danielle C. Giddins IG, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. And so I am on a hiatus for 2 weeks from Late Night Tea, but
Okay.
you
Yes,
can
because
go
we
check it
definitely need
out.
breaks. Yes, we definitely need breaks. So y'all support Black women, support Black businesses.
Yes.
We both have them. Go to YouTube and subscribe to both of our channels because I think that's what people forget. They'll watch the shows and stuff, but then you don't subscribe. So subscribe so that we can know that people are watching, and that's how you support a Black business. So we thank you. We want you to have an amazing week. Danielle, thank you. I
Thank you,
love you.
thank you, Crystal, for having me on. This was a pleasure. I already knew it was going to be like this, but
Yes,
I appreciate you. I love you, and this came straight from the chair, y'all.
straight from the chair. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too, girl.